Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Here, we're coming here with another great podcast. And of course, we have all the most wonderful guests. We have a really cool, interesting guest that I'm excited to have on today, who is not only creating a great business in her retirement years, but she is helping change the world to make it better and make it a better place, if you will. Anyway, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that bell notification button so you get all the notifications of everything we do and all the podcasts as they come out live. We are on Spotify now. The show has been syndicated to Spotify. You can go to Spotify and sign up to get the show updates. You can, of course, go to iTunes, Google Play, tune in, just about any podcast thing in the world and be able to subscribe to the show. Please refer to your friends, neighbors, relatives, dogs, cats, cousins, whatever you have kicking around that you know. Tell them to subscribe to the show. We certainly appreciate the growing audience we have on the Chris Voss Show. Today, we have a very interesting subject. My mother and my sister were both teachers, and I spent a lot of the years with them understanding all the money they would personally spend and what they would do. And today we have a great person on the show who has started a website called helpateacher.com. It's Debbie Scott. She's the founder of it, and she is 64 years old. I guess I can say that because it's in her bio. And she basically has 3 children, 3 amazing children-in-laws, and 9 grandchildren. And at the retirement age of her and her husband, they decided to start this company, or this foundation, I should say, helpateacher.com. And we're going to find out what this is about, how this changes the world and improves it and makes it a better place. Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much for coming in. And so helpateacher.com is your website. And let's talk about what motivated you to start this company and what it's about.
Well, do you want me to talk about how it started? What gave me the idea?
Sure.
Okay. It was when those shootings happened in Florida. I was watching it on the news. It was on the news constantly. And I was just watching, thinking how unbelievably horrific that would be. It's bad to watch it on the news, but then you think, what if this were me? And what if this were people that I knew? And it was just so bad. And then suddenly I started thinking about the teachers. They're sort of in a bad spot because they're not paid to be security guards. And yet at a moment like that, that's what they turn into. And there were 3 teachers that gave their lives that day to protect their students. And it just hit me. They had their own lives and their own children. And yet for a job that does not pay them enough and doesn't give them the recognition or the respect they deserve, they gave their lives to protect children. A lot of the kids talked about, how great these teachers were and what it meant to them. And I just started thinking about teachers, and I don't know, my heart just went out to them. And so I reached out to the teachers that I know. I have a really good friend who just became a teacher. And so I know more about teaching through her because she tells me about it. And I have a few other people that I know who are teachers. And I sent them a text or an email and I said, hey, just send me some things that you need for your classroom so I can send you some stuff. And they did. They sent me just lists of things, Crayola, glues, scissors, things like that. And so I just jumped on Amazon. It took me like 2 minutes and I sent these people the things that they had requested. It wasn't until I got their responses that I started thinking about it, because they all responded back. They were so touched that I did that. They were just like, you have no idea how this encourages us. You have no idea what this means to us, that somebody thought about us and did this. That's what made me start thinking about, what about all those other teachers? And there's so many teachers, and we all know they buy their own school supplies. We've all known that forever, but what can we do? What can one person do? And I was sitting on my couch and I just suddenly had the idea, and I believe that it was an idea that the Lord gave me. And the idea was exactly, make a Facebook page, let teachers post their wish on it, let anybody fill those wishes, and call it Help a Teacher. That was the exact thought. So I sat down and I created my very first Facebook page ever, and I called it Help a Teacher.
That's awesome. So, I mean, basically what Help a Teacher does, it's a foundation. So it's a charity. Am I correct there?
There's actually 2 parts to Help a Teacher. There's one that's just Help a Teacher. And that's the part that you see on Facebook. The Help a Teacher, it encourages teachers to post a wish list from Amazon. They They make this Amazon wish list and they post it with a little information about themselves, what grade they teach, where they teach, and what they're trying to do. If they're trying to bring in flexible seating, or if they're just, trying to improve reading skills, or a little bit about themselves, and they post it. Once they post it, we have volunteers that work for Help a Teacher, and they add our own intro, and then we post it over to the main page so that it's there for anyone to see. Anybody can see, and anybody can go in and go through those lists and pick an item. They can pick a box of pencils. They can do a box of crayons. They can send as much or as little as they want, but they're sending it directly to the teacher. And once the teacher gets it, we ask the teacher to post a picture. So when the teachers get their gifts, they post these awesome pictures with all these gifts on them. So we found that a lot of our donors send things anonymously. They don't want to be named, which is amazing. But then these teachers, when they post the pictures, we always hope that those donors see the pictures so that they know the teacher got it. What's really cool about it to me is that, you can give $100 to a charity and you don't really know where it goes. You can give $20 to, something, and you don't really know what happens to it. With Help a Teacher, you know exactly where your money that you're giving is going. You're buying exactly what you want, and you're sending it to the doorstep of the teacher. It is now the property of that teacher. That teacher owns it, that teacher uses it, and it benefits that teacher.
The most understated people in our society, I don't know if the most understated, that might be a hyperbole, is teachers. They do a lot of what they do out of the passion and love for what they do. Like I said, my mom was a teacher for about 20 or 25 years, and she would call me up. She's like, "Oh, I just went and spent $250 buying supplies." And I'm like, $250 buying supplies? Wait, doesn't your school pay for that? And she's like, "No, they won't pay for it. The legislature cut back our budget again this year." And I don't know how much she must have paid out tens of thousands of dollars over her career as a teacher, just out of the love for her little 8-year-old, 7-year-old school children. She was that teacher who just really cared. And most teachers do. Most teachers really aren't in it for the money. They don't go be teachers because there's like $1 million paycheck at a CEO level if they can work 20 years.
Right.
They do it a lot of times out of love. They're usually horribly underpaid, as we've seen recently with the strikes that have been going on around the country. One of the problems my mom had was in Utah, and this happens, I think, a lot in our country. We have these metropolitan cities, and then most of any state is rural. And what's happened for decades now is the legislatures come in, and in Utah, the problem was most of the legislature was cattle ranchers and farmers, because they were rural. And so when they would come in and they would have their legislature for, funding schools and everything, they'd just be like, "We don't really see the importance of education. We're on a farm. What's this college stuff?" And so I watched my mom go through this series of where she went like 20 kids per class, 30 kids per class, 40 kids per class as they would cut back the education. And so she was spending literally her own money. And I know a lot of teachers do this. They spend their own money. And then as we've seen from the recent strikes, they're horribly underpaid. Some of them are working 3 jobs just to keep a teacher job and be able to have a life.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. I have had a few jobs in my life. I've worked as a legal assistant for my husband, but I've worked other places too. Never anywhere have I ever worked where I was told to bring my own computer or my own paper or my own pens. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. And there's so many supplies. My mom used to, part of the passion was the teachers go, "Well, I want to do this." Like sometimes they wanted to do some, I don't know, finger paint stuff or teach, certain things that they just won't provide that are fun for the children, that make it interesting. My mom was always trying to make it fun and interesting. I wish I should have her on the show with you. But, every teacher is out there, and these teachers are just under even more pressure because more of the millennial and Gen X parents that are the participation parents, they literally want teachers now to be these glorified babysitters for their kids. And they, if they do anything wrong or whatever, they're just completely getting attacked by some of these parents. And, here they're just doing this job. They're trying to make ends meet. They're spending their own money on supplies. So I think it's really beautiful what you're doing to help bring attention to this. And wow, the power of Amazon, where people can just have it drop ship where it needs to go.
And if you have the Amazon Prime, your delivery is free.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. And the wish list is right there. You click what you want to send. The address is usually already in the Amazon account. And so you just click it and go. And in those few moments, you've made a difference in another person's life. You have blessed a teacher and her classroom.
Plus, you changed the world too, because
That's
that
right.
teacher is going to use those materials to educate people, make them smarter, make education more fun, so that people want to learn and don't get tuned out by school. I think the implications are exponential in the returns that you're doing on Delivery Society. And I love the concept. I have, like I say, I've donated a lot of money to different charity causes over the years. And sometimes you're just throwing a check into a bucket and you're just, I don't know where that went, what that did, but I hope it went someplace good. But I love this concept. So teachers, so if I'm a teacher listening right now, I can go to your website and I can create a list of stuff that I need off of Amazon. So that it's basically like, what's it called when you get married and you have like the list of places? Registry. So it's kind of like almost like an Amazon registry.
It is.
There you go. And so I can go on there, I can pick the supplies I need, and then people will go on there. People who just want to be charitable, contribute, they can go on there and buy some supplies. What's nice too is you don't have to probably spend millions of dollars if you want to contribute. You can go on there and buy a few supplies, maybe $100, $20, 25, whatever. And a lot of those supplies, I'm sure, go a long ways with elementary school teachers and everything else.
One of my favorite gifts that we see from time to time is where somebody sends one small box of pencils or one small box of crayons. To me, that gift speaks volumes because it was what they were able to send, and they did.
Yeah. And it's being able to learn and be able to have more fun ways to learn are really important. I mean, I think for most of us, our funnest memories are in elementary school, because that's when you did like kind of the most creative, fun stuff. You did finger painting. I remember in Los Angeles where I grew up, they taught us calligraphy at fourth grade. And I think in third or fourth grade, we were learning calligraphy. And I think in fourth grade, we were also learning how to do stop action film, where you could do animated films with stop action. And it was pretty amazing, like all the stuff that we would have. But having these teachers that would have these creative avenues and outlets, and of course have the supplies to be creative and come up with fun stuff was really important, because teachers really don't want to be standing in front of a room lecturing people and just saying, here, learn this crap. They understand that the dynamic of how they have to make it fun, they have to make it creative, they have to have all sorts of different support mechanisms like supplies to be able to get people to learn on so many different levels, whether it's tactile or whatever.
Exactly. We have a lot of teachers that request the manipulatives. That's a big thing, and they really need those for their learning. There are a lot of children these days that have a hard time focusing and being still for whatever reason. And so if they can give them something to do with their hands, it makes it easier to engage them and to eventually teach them. So that's one of the big things that teachers are asking for right now.
Yeah, my biggest problem when I was in school was I had extreme ADD, and I would take my fingers and drum them and bang them on the desk, and I'd tune out from my high school teaching because it was so dry. And I would start banging my fingers. I'd start drumming, which meant my brain was very active and I was very bored. And my teachers would always yell at me over it. I'm like, well, give me something to do. Give me something to do with these hands.
Right. Exactly. Our teachers are sort of graded on how effective they are. And for them to be effective, they have to engage their children. And so they get pushed into a circle. Be effective, teach your children, but there's no money for supplies. And so that's where they have to do it. They have to spend their own money or not be effective. To do a good job, to keep their job, to maintain the attention of their children, they have to go out and buy these things themselves. Otherwise, they're not going to be considered to be an effective teacher. And that's so unfair. So that's why I'm trying to encourage people. I give people the avenue. I give people the platform. to make a difference, just to send some small something to a teacher, because it will matter. It will make a difference. Every gift to a teacher makes a difference.
Yeah. So I'm looking over your website. You can go on there. Teachers can click a button and be able to go find out how to ask for donations. They can go to the Facebook page. They can request supplies. There's, of course, different donations that you have here on the Amazon wish list, and basically gives them how to post. They can, looks like they can send you some information on themselves. And it's just a nice continual thing where people can keep donating. You've got a donations tab, teachers tab, donors tab, giveaways, facts, our story, your Facebook page links, and note to teachers. This is really awesome because you don't have to be a mega donor. You don't have to have a lot of money to make a difference. And just making a difference, I think, in a small classroom of 30 people or 40 people, whatever the class sizes are these days, is just huge. I mean, I think we all grew up being inspired by those one or two teachers or few teachers that really made a difference in our lives. You always hear about when celebrities go back to school, or most of us can name who our couple favorite teachers were. And being able to make that difference on an exponential scale where people grow up and they remember the great teachers in their lives, I think it just makes the world a better place. I think it's a very beautiful thing that you're doing.
That's what the Note to Teachers is for. That's just a special place that we've added recently. And if you have that special teacher from your past, or a teacher that you work with, or that you know, or that you watch struggle to do a good job, it's a place where you can go in and just write a note to thank them, or to express gratitude for what they do, include a picture, and then we'll post it on the page so that that teacher gets a little bit of recognition publicly.
That's awesome. I'm looking at the Facebook page right now, and
the Facebook is where the teachers can post to get their wish list. The website, we designed the website because on the Facebook page, we stayed busy answering questions. And so we realized very quickly we were going to need that website to sort of answer questions and direct people and let them know what we were all about. But the actual wish list, those are on the Facebook page.
This is awesome. You guys got videos, recommendations on here. This is really cool. And you got, wow, you got over 56,000 people that have liked this page so far. You guys are doing really well with exposure and getting the name out there. I think this is awesome. I mean, I think it's really cool that you've been motivated to do this and created a thing. I mean, a lot of people were shocked when they saw that teachers are working up to 3 jobs just to keep their teaching job. And a lot of this job is a passion. I mean, like I said, they're not doing it because they're going to get rich. They're doing it because they love sharing. They love teaching. They love seeing these young faces and young minds grow and expand. You know, my mom used to always talk about all the hugs she get. I'm getting a little emotional here. She used to talk about the hugs she get from her kids. She'd talk about all the beaming faces and the excitement, and sometimes she'd take a kid that was a little closed off or had learning issues, or maybe had some some issues at home that they were coming very dark and depressed to school with. And this gives them, teachers do this for passion. They love reaching out to these people. They're not sitting and looking to become a billionaire because they're helping children. They just realize that this makes such a big difference. And wow, this is just such a great way to help people that are teachers and get them the supplies they need, and also to give them some faith that, hey, we're standing behind you as a society, as a community,
exactly.
to build a better world here. Because to me, education, my mom said this for years. She's like, they're cutting back our education. This is going to do horrible things to the future of our country. And I think we have probably one of the most uneducated societies ever. I mean, most people aren't learning anymore. They're just looking at their phone, it seems. It's fully true, but it kind of seems that way these days. I mean, I've had a few Gen Xers, they ask me questions and I'm like, why don't you look at Google? You're the Google generation. So I don't know what they're doing with their information, but definitely learning is so important now. And I think this is just awesome.
One of the things that it accomplishes, it is twofold. The supplies was deliberate. That's what I started it for. But another thing that's happened that I did not expect is that it encourages teachers, it lifts them up, and it shows them how valuable they are to society. I think that as a society, we've sort of pushed teachers back into a corner. We've just left them there to figure this out as best they can. And this is a way for people to reach out and say, hey, I care. I mean, we have people that will send big boxes of 800 crayons and scissors and paper and all sorts of supplies. And it really encourages the teachers to see that someone they don't know took the time and trouble and money to send all of those things. And it makes them realize there are a lot of people that do value what they do. There's just not a good way before Help a Teacher to tell these teachers how we appreciate them and how we feel about it. So.
Yeah, I've seen teachers, and I've always felt for them when, that you see them having to do bake sales and raffles and do all these intricate things and extra work things that take away from their ability to teach, to raise money. I mean, I remember there's an old T-shirt or something going around where the world will get better when we don't have to have a bake sale to raise money for education instead of buying another F-15 or whatever.
Right.
we spend more money on wars and going to war with people than we do taking care of the future and education of people. So I think what's really great. So you have the website of helpateacher.com, then you have helpateacherfoundation.org, which is your thing where people can just go and donate. Is that correct?
Well, what that is that right now, the helpateacher.com, all of those operations, I fund those. I choose to do that. My husband allows me to do that, and I want to do that. But I know that I will not be able to do that forever. And I think Help a Teacher is just too good to go away.
Yeah.
So what the foundation is for, it is so that we've applied for the 501c3 exemption, and we've set that up so that people who believe in what we're doing, who want to help, can make tax-deductible donations to make sure that the operations of Help a Teacher continue. We set that up just as a looking into the future. Right now, we're fine. We'll continue just like we are. We also do lots of giveaways. We have tons of giveaways on the page. We do a lot of fun things for the teachers, and I want those to continue. None of us knows whether we'll be here tomorrow. Today is all we know. And I want to make sure that this is something that continues. And so that's why we set it up as a foundation, so that it doesn't depend on one person, that it's going to be an entity that continues to survive into the future to help teachers. Teachers need someone that's on their side, that helps them, that advocates for them, that gets them the simplest of things.
Yeah, this is so awesome. So you got it set up where people can just directly donate. They don't have to mess with the Amazon part, but they can support the foundation so that you guys can, fund your operations and everything it takes to make the wheels go around and keep these websites up and keep rocking and rolling. That's really cool. They can set up they can donate just as little as I think $1 here, it says on the website, up to $1,000 or more. They have reoccurring donations. So if you want to just put it on a rotating basis monthly, I guess you can keep funding that. I'm one of those people who's a little lazy, so I'd probably be more interested in doing that than doing the Amazon thing. And of course, I know women love to shop, so they probably would enjoy doing the Amazon thing probably a little bit more, and finding the stuff that's really cool. And that's part of the fun of being able to contribute in what teachers really need and want. I really love what you built. I think it's just amazing, and I think it's a good thing. And I think more people should take a look at the site, share it, everything else, because we need to build a better world, a more educated group of people, teach things that we don't teach anymore. I mean, they've eliminated so many processes from schools, like music. I think PE is removed from some of the schools. Arts and crafts. And some of my best memories are from band class. Some of my best memories are from my arts and crafts student teachers. Some of the things that I learned. I remember one of my friends years ago. He said, I went to college and became a stockbroker, but one of the most important things I learned were liberal arts and crafts, because they taught me the humanity of life, and they taught me how to be human and empathy and all those things that make me great in my career. And a lot of people came from that. I think Steve Jobs said liberal arts were one of the things that really helped him, learning about calligraphy and how to do different font systems, or what he integrated from the arts and crafts he learned in school into the Mac when he built it. And that was one of the key things people liked about the Mac, is because when they created text and pages and stuff, they had all these different fonts and different formats and ways that they could present material. And so I think it's so important. And for the cutbacks that educations have had, very sadly, and I think it's great now that legislatures are having to deal with teachers now that are saying, hey, we want to get paid more and stuff. But definitely, I'm sure that they're probably cutting them back on school supplies while they're raising their income. So they need as much help as they can get.
We have people occasionally that will comment on the page, and they'll say, why should I buy school supplies? That's the school board's job, or that's the government's job, or something like that. And I just always tell them, that may be, but I can't do anything about that. But we can all buy a box of crayons. So we have to help where we are, at the level that we are. Yep. There's nothing I can do about the legislature. There's nothing I can do about the school boards. Not really. I mean, we can all show up at the school board meetings, but I mean, I can help by sending crayons. Yeah. I don't have to sit back and wait for the government to do it. It's one of those things where if everybody sits back and waits for the government to do it, it'll just get worse. And as individuals, we can stand up. And I'm telling you, it's been amazing. There are people rising up all over the country that are sending in school supplies to teachers they don't know and have never met. And it is a beautiful thing to see. It brings me to tears to watch sometimes what happens on the page, where we have teachers in Chicago that post, and literally they're in the inner city schools of Chicago. They have no chalk. They have no books. They have no crayons. How do you teach? How can you possibly teach? Yeah. And yet they're expected to teach. Yeah. And so we have a lot of people that are sending gifts to those teachers in those inner city schools in Chicago. New York City, we have a lot of teachers that post, and their students are simply immigrants, all of them. And so regardless of where you are politically on that, it doesn't matter. Here is a teacher who is filled with students from different countries that don't speak English, and she's got to find a way to engage and educate them. And we can help that teacher. That sends a message to that teacher. You're not alone. We all care. We're not divided about the care of children. Yeah. So it just makes me cry sometimes to watch the beautiful things that are happening between people.
I think it's a magical thing what you're doing. My mom used to spend hours crafting stuff. I'd call her up. What are you doing right now, Mom? It'd be late at night. She's like, oh, I'm staying up and crafting some special thing that we're going to do, and I'm putting all the kids' names on it, and I just, from a business aspect, I just be like, man, you really need to get paid a whole lot more than what they're paying you. And exactly. Fortunately, when she was coming through teaching, the resources she had for her union and to give her health benefits and retirement was pretty good back then. And at the end of her teaching career, they started scaling all that stuff back. And now teachers really have to have a hard time just fighting for simple stuff like, getting health coverage or getting good coverage, getting any sort of retirement and sort of union representation. I mean, they really are a people who are in charge of the future of our country. They're going to make a difference in the education and the quality of people we have in our society. And yet they're the most underpaid, underutilized when it comes to giving them supplies and funding than ever before. And yeah, it's what you say. It's amazing how people are like, well, doesn't that government take care of that? No, if people would get out and read, these legislatures, the first place they go to pilfer money for anything is they go to the education budget, it seems. And they go, oh, we need to pay for highways. Let's take it out of schools.
It does seem that way sometimes.
Yeah, we need to pay for an F-15 and go to war with Iraq for 10 years. Take it out of schools. Stuff like that. And you're like, hey, man, the biggest challenge, I've read a lot of different things of how different legislation is enacted, and they always promise, hey, we're going to put this in the school budget. And then you find out later they didn't. They diverted the funds and everything else. And you're just like, whoa, wait, I thought we voted for that so from the school budget. And so if you're paying attention, the money isn't getting to these teachers. The supplies aren't getting to these teachers. The budgets are just horribly cut back. And if you don't believe me, talk to a teacher. If you're watching this and you're just like, I don't know about that, Chris, go talk to some teachers, because they will open your eyes at the blood, sweat, and tears they're putting in. Ask them how much money they're personally putting in every month or every year into their classrooms, that they're spending of their own money, and you'll start waking up to the realization of how important websites like yours, helpateacher.com, are really doing and making a difference.
It's really interesting. If you want to get an idea of what teachers are going through, you can get on the web page, the Facebook page, Help a Teacher, and you can just go down the list and look at their wish list. Their wish lists are not filled with expensive items. They're filled with crayons, pencils, erasers, everyday ordinary things that a lot of times the parents are not able to send, and yet the kids have to have them. Teachers are the ones that are picking this up. Teachers also feed their kids. You can't teach a child that's hungry. We have a lot of teachers that tell us, our children are hungry. They don't have food to eat. Even when they get free lunches and free breakfast, they come back from a weekend and they're starving. All of this falls on the teachers. And so the teachers tell us they have snack drawers and they keep food there so that they can feed them, so that they can get their attention to teach them something. And as a society, it's strange to me. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how it slipped into the situation that it is now, but that's where we're at. And what I'm trying to do with Help a Teacher is raise awareness that it is not the responsibility of our teachers to buy these supplies, nor is it their responsibility to feed these children. We as a people can stand up and we can help. We can't sit back and wait for the legislature. We can't sit back and wait for the government, but each of us can send something and we can make a difference.
Yeah, whether it's small or large, people can do it through your website. And I think it's awesome. I mean, it's really comes down to the future of our society, what our society is about. Where our society is either going to get dumber and stupider and more idiocracy, or our society is going to become a more highly educated society that uses our brains more than our brawn. I mean, certainly moving into an element of industry and demand for what people know and what they can do with their minds, as opposed to in 50 years ago, it was more about, learning how to work in a steel mill or learning how to work with your hands in wood or metal and things of that nature. Now it's more cerebral, and we're moving to a society that probably more and more will become more cerebral. And being able to learn, being able to educate, being able to learn common things. I mean, even like civics in school have been something that have been dumped, and people just don't even really understand the importance of the Constitution, the importance of their rights and services. One of the things I've always complained about is teaching kids more about the power of what they have as being, especially you as citizens, the power of what the Constitution gives them, their freedoms, their rights, their ability to protest, their ability to vote, why that's important to vote. All these sort of powers that a lot of people take for granted now that they have, because they're not being taught civics in school, arts and crafts, like we talked about, PE, music. Music is one of the greatest connections most people have to their humanity and their feeling, their empathy, and having these things cut out where they're not being provided for or taught in schools anymore. Certainly people using a website like yours, they can take and make these contributions and make a difference in society. And if you want to make the world a better place, what greater way to do it than helping teachers?
I like the name Help a Teacher. It's very simple, and it says exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah, definitely. And this Amazon thing with the dropship is just amazing. I saw another charity the other day that they've come up with a way to figure out how to use Amazon dropshipping to help the homeless. And what they do is they have people, I guess, that identify homeless that work in certain areas, and work is probably the worst word to use right there, that basically are in certain areas and they're trying to get money on a regular basis for help. They're sitting there with their sign saying, please help me, I'm homeless. And they're usually there on a regular basis. And so what they do is they've come up with a way to make it so that people can drop ship supplies to those people. And literally the Amazon delivery person, UPS, FedEx, they can just hand them the Amazon box and get supplies to these people to help them. So I can be where I'm at and help somebody in, say, New York City or somewhere else in the world and make a small difference. It's just really amazing and beautiful what this technology is doing, and how this just makes the world a much smaller place and gives us a much better sense of community.
We're trying to reach Amazon. It's hard to get an individual at Amazon, but we feel like if Amazon knew what we were doing and that we were using them, that they would help us in some way. And so we we continue to attempt to reach out and reach someone at Amazon so that maybe they could help us with this. I feel sure once they realize what we're doing that they will want to do that.
Most definitely. I mean, it's an advertisement for them every time they send an Amazon box.
It's on every post, yes.
Amazon Prime on the outside. Every time I get an Amazon Prime delivery, I look at it and I'd be like, shouldn't you be paying me for that advertising? Because I'm the one who ordered this, and it just flew around the world, telling everybody that it was an Amazon box. Shouldn't that check be mine for the marketing on that? Anyway. I guess I shouldn't complain. I got the shipping for free, so I guess that's probably
that's true. That's true. That Amazon Prime is a pretty cool thing.
It definitely is. I mean, I
also search Amazon all the time to look for new school supplies. You know, teachers kind of get in a rut and they use the same things over and over, and so I'm always searching for new things. Just for example, we found an Elmer's Crayola sharpener, and it's an electronic Crayola sharpener. And it is just the most amazing thing, and teachers have loved it. We've given away a lot of them. A lot of teachers have requested it on their wish list, and children have so much fun sharpening a crayon. And it's become one of our biggest, most requested items is the Elmer's electronic crayon sharpener. So we're able to bring a lot of things before the teachers with our giveaways that they maybe didn't know about before, but now they do, and they want that. They need that. So,
and if it makes it fun for the teachers, it's probably better for them moral wise to keep them excited about their jobs. And like you say, they feel like other people care. I mean, I remember my mom felt really lonely sometimes in her teacher job when she'd be up late at night making supplies or making whatever she was going to craft for the next day. I think one time she made a piñata for the kids the next day. And she went home and handcrafted one and bought the supplies for it. I mean, she was just literally spending a ton of money. I mean, there was several times I just spent $250 on this. I'm like, how much do you make? And you can't, I mean, teachers can't even write that off. It's not a business expense. It's literally post-tax. After they pay taxes on their income, they probably, if my mom spent $250, she probably paid taxes on, I don't know, $350 maybe. I don't know, whatever your tax basis percentage is. But they're spending after-tax dollars. This isn't something they can write off. For you or me, if I buy something for my business, I can write that off. So I can kind of justify some of the expense. But for them, it's post-tax right out of their pocket. And they're just literally spending their own money. And they could easily selfishly say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to buy a new car, or I want to go spend this money on this, that, or the other. I'll have to ask my mom how much she thinks she spent on her own supplies over the years. It's
because they're employees, and that's why they don't get to write it off. It's not a business. It's not contract labor. They're employees, and as employees, they have the right to expect to receive the supplies that they need. I have a really good friend who lives in Norway, and when I started this Help a Teacher, I contacted him, and I'm like, Jan, this is a really cool thing that I'm doing here in the United States. Why don't you do it in Norway also? And he just laughed, and he said, Debbie, if a teacher in Norway asks for something, they get it.
Wow.
And I'm just like, the concept of that is so foreign. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, anything the teachers want. He said, it's an important job. Anything they need or want, they get it. And that's so different from what we are. But they value education, and they know that to value that, you have to value your educators. In this country, we value education with lip service, but we don't value the educators who are educating our children. I'm not sure how we got there.
Yeah, I don't know either, but definitely this makes a difference and makes it so that the individual that's out there can contribute and make a difference in the world in a very impactful way and a very direct result, because you can see the results. You're like, hey, oh, okay, a picture from the teacher, and they got my supplies, and this is going to help people and make a difference in the world. I think that's just grand. I think
it's a happy place. Everybody's happy. The teachers are happy. The donors are happy. Teachers tell us that they can't wait to get off work and come to the page, and they stay on it. The Facebook statistics tell us that once people get to the page, they stay there. They read the other stories. They read the wish list, and it's a happy place for teachers where they're valued and they're respected.
And the kids too are happy because they've got an education.
Right. They get new stuff.
Yeah, they get new stuff. They got an education basis that makes it learning exciting and fun and everything else. So as we wrap up, Debbie, anything else you want to tell us about Help a Teacher?
Oh, not really. Just if you know a teacher, if you meet a teacher, anybody, just tell them to check out the Facebook page, Help a Teacher. I don't have a good way to reach all teachers, but I know that there are approximately 3 million teachers in our country. We have 55,000 on our Facebook page, and the majority of those are teachers. So we have a long way to go to reach all of the teachers. And we want to do that. We want to reach them. So if you're in conversation with a teacher, or you meet a teacher, or so-and-so sister's a teacher, or their mom's a teacher, please tell them about Help a Teacher. Help us spread the word about Help a Teacher so that we can help more teachers.
Sounds awesome. Well, we're doing it here with this platform, and a lot of people are listening to see it.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out our website. Go to helpateacher.com. Tell your friends, neighbors, relatives. Like I said, if you're one of those people out there who thinks the teachers are well funded, go talk to a teacher. Spend some time talking to the teachers of your kids in school. Find out about their supplies, and maybe refer them to helpateacher.com so they can go on the Facebook page and do the thing. I mean, most people I know have children probably in school. Go talk to your teacher, suggest the Help a Teacher forum, because at least that way they'll get supplies and your kids will be smarter too. But also, what a great, better way to contribute to the world. You contribute to everything that's going on out there. And there's so many underfunded schools, especially in inner cities, that don't have enough money for schools. The kids are just in these schools that you just read about them. I mean, there's some schools I've read about where the kids are in areas of ultimate poverty. And the kids are showing up hungry. They don't have food. So schools are now having to say, we need to breakfast these people. More and more, a lot of these parents are relying on schools and teachers to raise their kids, to almost be pseudo parents. And so they need as much support as we can. And, it's the future. If you want to live in a world with a bunch of uneducated, knuckle-dragging cavemen and people that aren't contributing to society, that aren't being able to hold great jobs, we've had this huge bleeding out in America where we're not producing the amount of engineers that we used to produce that made our country great, helped build the wonderful infrastructures like the bridges and everything else, and technology and all the stuff that made America great. We're actually having less of those people becoming, engineers. And so that has an effect on the quality of our society and the quality of contribution and what we can have in having a smart, brilliant society that can provide great jobs, that can provide great in society and community. And of course, I certainly walk around life and go, I wish people were a lot smarter. I wish I was too. That's another story. Anyway, Debbie, thank you for being on the show. We certainly appreciate it. I hope my audience goes out, checks out our website, shares it with the teacher, makes a contribution, all that sort of good stuff. Change the world. That's really what we have in this life. There's not a lot we can do. And when we leave, we don't leave with any of our money or any of these things that we build. But hopefully when we leave the world a better place. And hopefully it's better for us being there. And this is a great way to do it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We certainly appreciate it. Be sure to refer your friends, neighbors, relatives. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification. You can subscribe now on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, the TuneIn app you can also take and do there, and we should be on iHeartRadio fairly soon, so you can tune in there. Any of the different podcast apps. We certainly appreciate our audience and our guests for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.